with some other channels too. We will blame the app today. We are joined again by Herman Stevens, but before we get to our guest, let's quickly mention our sponsors, Garage Door Guys in Kansas City and Arm Assassin Strength Shop, which, Gabi, we still got that contest going on. We've got a couple entries and we're waiting on a few entries. So at the end of the month, we're going to decide who gets the $50 gift card. And it's based on who sends us the best or the training video at home that we like the best. And we'll decide that. Patreon members, we got to shout out our Alpha Patreon members, Zane William Nisley, Jeff Frank, and Bruce Willis. Thank you, guys. We appreciate you. Herman, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here, man. How's everybody doing today? Gabi, how you doing?
I'm good, man. No complaints.
So, we're a little bit late. I'm just making sure we're going live to make sure that...
Wait a minute. I can't hear Gabi.
Really?
You can't?
I can't hear Gabi at all. This app is a piece of shit. That's what's going on.
Wow.
Yeah, he's smirking.
It wasn't my phone.
Wow.
Maybe it was.
Tell him I can go out and back in, and that might help as long as he stays in. Usually when we've had that issue, if I log out and back in, it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, you want me to try it? Okay, hold on.
Sure, or maybe Herman's just messing with you. I don't know.
No, I can't hear Gabi.
Okay.
Gabi, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you perfect.
Joseph Drellick is number one.
I can't
hear Gabi. He would have said something to that. So
yeah.
He would have said something to that. All right, Gabi, you log out, log back in. Anyway, Herman, what's going on, man?
Nothing much, man. Trying to get over some injuries, trying to get some training in, routine stuff. Hey, Chris.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we're
perfect.
Awesome.
Perfect. Were you fucking with it? Were you fucking with us?
No.
Fucking guy.
Well, we know we're live.
Job.
I was wondering if you guys were screwing with me, though.
That whole time?
Yeah.
Going to be 30 minutes late just so we can mess with you?
Yeah. Well, Gabi would do it to me, and I would do it to Gabi. I mean, you're probably a person.
Well, thanks, man. That's well, we got a bunch of people in the live feed already. Zane Nisley, Morning, Dustin McLaughlin, Mark J, Magnus Osteras.
That guy's strong.
Is he?
I mean, just his name,
Yeah, anyone named Magnus has got to be strong.
Yeah.
All right, where do you guys want to start? Herman, you got a bunch of stuff off the top. I'm looking at over here at your thread on the arm wrestling training page. And you want to start with, here's what I want to talk about off the top. Your race/ethnicity.
Yeah, I actually have a list of questions today. And the race thing comes up quite often. And there's some guy who sent me a message request that I never responded to. And that's just me being a bad person. I didn't have a problem with the question. But the question specifically stated, are you every race combined?
Who was that from? Because I think I might have sent that.
Oh, yeah. I don't remember. But it could have been a troll. Yeah. A troll account. I tell people, I was telling someone the other day that there are times when I look back at the conversations over the week, and if I've spoken to 16 people, long, detailed conversations, 8 of them are probably Gabi.
4. I'd say 4.
Yeah. So, Gabi's probably 5 of my top 10 best friends.
I'll take that any day.
So race, ethnicity, all that stuff. So I guess technically, in the American system, I'm a black man, right? And that goes back in time. I mean, slavery, all this stuff. There was something called the 1-drop rule, meaning if you had 1 drop of African blood, you were considered black, right? So someone that looks like Gabi could be black because he would have been, his lineage would have been tainted by one man, hundreds of years ago. And that's a real thing. And you would have been grouped as a black person and treated, inappropriately or maybe appropriately for the time, but probably inhumanely and that sort of thing. Louisiana was a little bit different. Spanish ownership, French ownership, blah, blah, blah. You got the giant melting pot. They say United States is a melting pot. Louisiana is probably more so than most places. And I think it was under French rule, Louisiana actually had a 3-tier class system. Most of the sort of English British system, United States, was 2-class, white and black. And Louisiana had white people, they had black people, and it had like somewhere in the middle, right? And that middle was maybe free people of color, like people that had won their freedom or bought their freedom, black people, and also like a bunch of people that were mixed race or looked something like me. The United States bought the Louisiana Purchase, and the United States didn't believe in this three-tiered system, so Louisiana was sort of forced into that binary system. Not that their three-tier system was much better, and so you got a lot of people that looked like me that have been categorized as black ever since. Whether it's the origination of the one-drop rule or a binary system, or simply the fact that someone like me isn't white, right? Now, yeah. So yeah, no problem, right? People looked like my ancestors. My people looked like me 100 years ago or 200 years ago. We were black. Probably not a huge deal. You get on with life. Time goes by. What's different, though, I guess, about where I am in Louisiana is that our group, which could be considered like Louisiana Creoles or French and Spanish Creoles, whatever you want to call it, some people like me consider it to be its own race. Right, but that's not identified by the United States. And the defense of that argument that we are a race would be, okay, we got a certain look, a certain specific ancestry. We've got our own we're generally we're going to be Catholic, and so we have a religion associated with the group. So you check all those boxes, and you say, well, no, we're actually our own thing, and that doesn't really hold up unless the whole of the country recognizes it. Civil rights movement comes, and you probably need to jump on a team, right? So some people like me always consider themselves black. Some people like me consider themselves Creole. But you need to jump on the black bandwagon if you weren't already, so that you get some civil rights too, right? So that furthered sort of the inclusion into the black group. And here we are today, right? So I am a black man. I was raised black. My birth certificate says black. My parents are black. My grandparents, great-grandparents, all these people were black. And probably no problems with it. I don't have anyone in my family that's not proud to be a black person. I do know people that look like me and people that don't look like me that aren't so proud to be black. And someone like myself could simply say, "Oh, I'm Hispanic, right? Or I'm something else." That doesn't fly in my family. I wouldn't want that option.
No.
And personally, some people say, "Oh, you're not black." I don't know anyone that has the option to not be black that chooses to be black. That doesn't. I've never heard of it. Now you got a lot of white people that try to be black. They don't like black people, but boy, they want to be dark and tan and jump high and all this stuff. But yeah, no one typically chooses to be black. So and growing up, what I've seen is that in an area like this, historically people knew I was black. I mean, that's all we have here is white and black. We didn't have a lot of Hispanic people, didn't have any Middle Eastern people. So regardless of my complexion, people knew I wasn't white, so that meant I was black, right? Now, as I got older, people see what you can do and stuff like that. I've realized that people have struggled with the fact that I'm black, not necessarily because of my skin color, but because of my successes. And it's kind of funny. Like in America, you can be anything, right? So in America, because I was always a straight A student and I played sports, was a class president, and went to college, got a good job, and I'm decently well off for myself or whatever. I can be white. They'll accept that, right? But if I sagged my pants or fit whatever the stereotype was, oh no, he's definitely black. So it's kind of interesting that people will argue with me on the internet and sometimes in person about what I am, right? And you hear the other argument, I hear people talk about, like, why are they white? Oh, no, I'm Scottish, I got a German background or something like this. Well, dude, don't get mad at me. I didn't make you white. White people made themselves white. They washed away their history by grouping all of themselves into the white bucket so they could be separated from black people. So, like, don't get mad at a black person because you're white now. You guys did that, But if more details, I have African ancestry in various groups because African isn't one group of people. It's probably thousands of groups of people, right? So I have like probably primarily West Coast African background because of the slave trade, Spanish ancestry, Italian ancestry, you know, all of Europe. So like French, some German, English, this kind of stuff. Native American, it's kind of like a mixed bag. One thing that is interesting, I've done a DNA test. My parents have done it. My dad was probably, like 10% Spanish or 12% or something. My mom was something like that too, because Louisiana has a Spanish background. And somehow I got all of it. So I think I'm like 20 to 25% Spanish. And it's kind of a weird thing how DNA works, and what you get and what you don't get. And I think the only like ancestor I know where it was like this guy left this country and came to the United States was a Spanish guy, I think named Joseph Santa Maria, maybe a couple hundred years ago. And that seems to be the side of the family where all the traits just kind of like cut down through the family tree, and everyone's kind of a clone of that, or at least it seems. So,
speaking of your ancestry or your father and grandfather, how's your grandfather doing?
Yeah, so I guess we saw him maybe 2 weeks ago now, or a week ago. We went visit him behind the window. He has COVID-19, for those that don't know. Saw him behind the window. Yeah, he looked kind of sleepy, kind of tired. But my understanding is he broke the fever. He's doing better. He has not been admitted to a hospital, which is positive. He's in a nursing home. If it got worse, he'd have to go to a hospital. But based on what they know now, I mean, they're slamming these people with the meds. They know what to give them. He didn't have any respiratory issues, but they said, hey, we got him on the medicine before he even has the problems.
Good.
So I didn't get my update this week, but as far as I know, he's doing better.
Good.
And I would say for anyone who's worried or concerned, whether you're old or have asthma or diabetes and you're younger or something, I mean, I'm fairly positive on the situation, considering how my grandfather was handled based on the knowledge they have right now. So all is good.
As long as they're not taking any advice from your president.
Yeah. And
I find him a fucking interesting character because at one point, certain things I don't necessarily agree with his politics, but sometimes I watch some of his feeds or his interviews and I'm like, that motherfucker is trolling the people. He is trolling the people.
Yeah, no,
like,
I tell people
he trolls people. Like it's fucking brilliant. In a way, why would a president do that? But I think he's a better troll than he is leader of a nation.
Yeah, and even if he's not trolling, and everyone has their quirks, his quirks are just hilarious to me, Like that gif I've been posting all week, about I love the poorly educated. Like it was great,
Yeah.
I watched the original video, and he's making some valid points. He said that he won the election, or the whatever the part of the process they were in. He won with the old people. He won with the young people. He won with the Hispanics. He won with the highly educated. He won with the poorly educated. And it's like he caught it. He was like, this is not going to sound good. And so he goes, I love the poorly educated.
Yeah. Yeah. He's got a good combination of transparency and lack of judgment filter in what he says. And sometimes it comes out as super genuine, which is rare for a fucking leader, a politician.
Yeah, so and the truth is, right, if you say he's a bad guy, he made the comment about Mexico and all that stuff like that. The truth is that he doesn't care about us any less or more than any other politician.
No, for sure.
Like, it really doesn't matter. Like, Barack Obama didn't care about Herman Stevens in Louisiana, So, like, who cares?
Yeah.
Fair.
We should move on. I think someone's going to get
Let's
upset.
move on. Let's talk a little bit about arm wrestling.
Saturday morning with politics.
Small piece of news that came out yesterday is the giant event in Red Deer, Alberta in August has been postponed.
Yeah.
So it's moving a full year. It'll be August of 2021 now, because the provincial government of Alberta has banned all events that would have over 15 people until after summer is over. I think September is the date. So that's a pretty not my fault kind of situation that Jeff Frank's been put in, and it's down the road now.
Yeah, how do you you had a match, right? Or a four-way?
I had a four-way left-handed with Passmore, Bajent, and Topi, and then I had a right-handed match with Wayne Withers.
Oh, wow. So, yeah, you got to be pretty bummed.
It's hard to be that upset when you know what's going on, right? So the last event of the summer that I had planned, it was going to be a huge summer for me. Like, I had events all over the place. starting in July, ending in September. And the last one that hasn't been canceled yet is Worlds. And so far, there's a 100% guarantee that Worlds is happening. So I'll run with that, and we'll see what happens. But I'm not that optimistic about the World Championships. I think I want to focus on preparing for Zloty, and I'll go there for the first time.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Hey, just think, if you would have beat Wayne Withers, someone in the southern United States would have actually known who you were.
yeah, maybe. Yeah.
But yeah,
I think-
bummer of a tournament. It seems like everyone was a lot of people were going. I mean, it was verging, I think, on one of those too many super matches types of events. But it just had that feeling. And then there's like 40 matches or something on the roster, and then people are messaging me saying, "Hey man, you going to Red Deer?" And I'm like, no, well, I'm not watching super matches for 20-something hours and then go and pull a tournament.
No.
Well, super matches on the Friday, super matches on the Saturday, and then the tournament.
Let me ask you this, Ryan: were all the matches super? And I'm not saying super.
You're talking about the debate on what qualifies something as a challenge match versus a super match.
Yeah, or just what's worthy of people's time. Like, what's worth watching?
It really is kind of in the eye of the beholder. So if you take BLM versus Stephen Marcoux, to me, that's a fascinating match. I want to see that because I know both guys. I know what they bring. But for the general public, and we'll use the United States, for example, a lot of them don't know who BLM is, and none of them know who Stephen is. So it's going to be a tough sell, right?
Yeah, so that would be what, like a national, is that national level or regional level type match?
Yeah, national for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
But national for Canada, right?
National for Canada, yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's some matches where it's like local guys that from like the Red Deer Club that match up well with some of the training partners of the other guys that are coming for super matches from the States. So they find themselves in a super match. It's interesting, but it's not marquee.
Yeah. And so like my only whatever, people can do one-on-one matches. I mean, whatever. It's just, I go to some of these tournaments, and I mean, I come from I truly think at one point, and maybe I was like one of the very few guys at my level in the United States that was actively training like people.
Yeah.
Like 5-10 people every week, go to every practice and go to every tournament, don't compete, and then film. Right? I don't think Todd Hutchings doesn't do that. Not that I'm on Todd's level. But so I would just go to these tournaments, man, and it just rubbed me the wrong way. Like I really hate tournaments now. Because I finally get convince myself to get out of the house, and it's just so many goddamn matches that are like not even, maybe not even state level interest.
Well, tournament arm wrestling is like in Manitoba, it's gotten so big that and the organizers have been criticized for running slow events, that you're showing up at an arm wrestling tournament and 12 hours later you're going home. It should not be that way, and it gets to be tiresome for the competitor, but for the people they bring, it is awful.
Yeah. Yep. And so not only are they like 12 hours long, we have so many of them.
Yeah.
So now you're going to a bunch of watered down tournaments, a bunch of them that also take 12 hours. Like it has become miserable to an extent,
Yeah. Which is why, I mean, the WAL is so successful. It's a couple hour long show. You get 6 matches and away you go.
Yeah, and the talent's good and all that stuff, so it kind of keeps you on the hook,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do love tournament arm wrestling. I just wish it would move a whole lot faster.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's not on the competitor. That's basically a promoter's problem to figure out, which is interesting because next week Gobby and I are having 2 promoters on the show to talk specifically about promoting arm wrestling and running tournaments. Jeff Frank's one of them and Brian Kerner's the other. But
shy of having money or a good sponsor, any promoter has to cater somewhat to the tier 1 and 2s, has to have obviously an amateur or an amateur class, only because that's, I think, they draw from that. There's no cash payouts, and it's all funneled in entry fees. I just think that you can have a 3-class tournament, and each class can be amateur and pro, elite pro, everyone in the same class. You just change or adjust the bracketing. So, for example, an amateur comes into the tournament, you can guarantee that he'll be bracketed. So by the first time he has to pull a pro, he's probably pulled 2 or 3 amateurs or stuff like that. Because when I first got in the sport, it was like trying to get friends and family to come and watch, and of course they wanted to support, so they did. 3 years down the line, I'm like, they want to come and support. I'm like, hell no, stay the fuck home. We're gonna get there at 10 a.m. We'll be lucky to leave around 11:30 at night. Like, stay the fuck home. It's a nightmare. What happens is they start with the amateurs and stuff like that. By the time I start pulling, I'm so mentally exhausted from fielding questions and talking to people. I'm just wiped. It's not a good format, but it's a money making format.
Hey, just think if you were like me and relied on a hit. It sucks.
No,
Dude, 6 hours later, I'm just like, man, I'm dead.
No, fucking right. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. That's why you see some pros thinking the tournament starts at 11 a.m. and they say to the promoter, "What time do the pros start?" No, well, pros will probably start around 2:30. They fucking show up around 2:15. Who the hell wants to sit around for 3 hours watching bums?
Even then, most promoters aren't even capable of giving you a time because they don't know how their tournaments run.
There's no way. Yeah. There's no way to know. Unless you do pre-registration, which we've seen in the past, that allows them to an easier way to plan it. But still,
there was some comments in the. I don't know where this came from. This alleged match between Devin and Vitaly Laletin, and I don't know where it came from, but apparently the match is not happening now, or it was just a rumor. Anyone have any insight on that? Because I do not.
ArmBets TV and PAL posted a video about it, like one of their high quality videos talking about the matchup. I guess a guy from Kosovo sent me a link to that, and then later on I went to click on it again to actually read some comments, and the video was taken down, and I said, "Hey, this match isn't happening. That's why they took it down." And he goes, "No, Devin made a video about it also." And I didn't see the Devin video. I think Devin made a video before it, so he may have alluded to the PAL ArmBets video. They released it, then it was taken down. My first suspicion was that this was not run by Steve Kaplan. Kaplan saw the video, and it was left-handed. And then I think the match got pulled. That's my speculation.
That's probably.
There's really no reason why Devin, I think, would ever turn the match down. Devin will kind of pull wherever, whenever. Right.
I think you're probably. I think you're probably right on the money there. But I mean, to speculate that Devin's booking a match when he's got a match booked, I don't know.
Well, he doesn't have anything in December. Now, who knows what their agreements are, right? Again, I know the contracts were a few years ago. Rob Vigent says that the contracts aren't that way now. You have freedom. You can go compete. At the same time, the contract may say you can do everything you want. But then Steve Kaplan's also going to say, I prefer that you don't.
Yeah.
Right. And then you have to make a decision.
Yeah.
So I'm sure Devin signed up for a left-handed match, just like he pulled the left-handed match with Dennis. Was that last year or 2 years ago now?
Yeah, in the off season, for
2
sure.
years now, because Kaplan told him, left hand, we don't do left-handed matches. It's the off season, not a big deal. And now maybe the tables or things have changed.
Yeah.
Part of that is probably Devin losing to Dennis, and part of that might be Devin probably going to lose to Vitaly Laletin. It doesn't really look good if you're claiming to have the world's absolute best and you have the world champion.
Yeah.
So it's business. It's not arm wrestling.
Hey, you just broke a record, Herman. You've officially been on here more than anyone else on this channel.
Yeah, I want to say I had the hand control record too, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think that's right.
All right. Comment before we get to your questions. We got one in here that's an interesting matchup. A person just asked if a match happened between Hutchings and Ungrabayev, what would happen? Who would you put your money on?
I think it's just got to go odd. Yeah.
The reason is, I think you have to be one incredible fucking high hooker or top roller, like top 0.01% in the sport, or you have to be one like a Spartak Zoliev. You got to be 1.05% top hooker. Angarbayev is too versatile. I think Todd's style destroys versatility, just like Jerry Cadaret's style destroys versatility. I think that their one powerful move trumps the balanced style and versatility of Angarbayev and pullers like him.
Yeah, I think the only time, I guess, in Todd's, his recent comeback to the sport, I guess, in the last 5 years, that I've seen him have trouble overseas was, I think Zoloev beat him once in the overalls at Zloty. And I think that was because Todd got over a little too excited and moved too quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was one loss. He did okay in Moldova, and that was because I think he had wars with Marzio Barboza the week before. Still goes to Moldova, beats Sacho in a hook, beats Krasimir in a hook, and then, he had trouble with some speed demons, right? Well, what's his name? Alan Makiev, right? Roasted him. And then Prudnik, who's as strong and faster, roasted him. But that was an impressive performance considering he was already banged up. And what was the other one? There was another situation where I think he lost to Rustam in that super match, right? Mm-hmm. And my understanding is that was short notice and maybe he wasn't really ready.
Yeah.
But Rustam also has a kill shot.
Yep.
Right. I don't think Angarbayev has that level of a kill shot.
Yeah. And I mean, in one match in a tournament, if they met Angarbayev and Todd, I couldn't see myself. I could see myself maybe giving the nod to Angarbayev, but in a 3 out of 5 or 4 to 7 or anything like that, the advantage goes to Todd. Definitely.
Yeah. What do you think, Mike?
Man, I don't even know. I think Gabi's analogy of versatility not being as effective towards Todd is probably spot on. And I think the first time they pull, Todd manhandles him. I think the more exposure Angarbayev gets to him, the more he can close that gap. I was distracted by this question that got thrown out there: who wins in a 100-meter dash between SP and Jerry? I think I could probably beat Jerry in a race. I still train legs once in a while.
That is definitely something I'd really, really not want to see.
I guarantee you, Gabi, if I put that as a pay-per-view, you would tune in and lay down the cash, strictly for entertainment. The documentary leading up to the race would be priceless.
Perhaps.
Yeah, the question would be, who wouldn't have a heart attack in the preparation for the race?
I'll tell you one thing. What could be an interesting Facebook Live video, if I ever get my ass down to Louisiana in the next couple of years, I talk about beating Herman Stevens with my left, but that's not very feasible. But I'd like to have a one-on-one fucking basketball game with Herman. One-on-one. I think, and I'd like to film it because I think. Yeah.
Hey, let me tell you something. If I have a heads up, you're going to be in a world of trouble, man, because I'm going to train for it. It'll be like Zloty
You'll
mode.
have to train
it'll
for
be
it.
straight Zloty mode, Gabi. You'll see the best basketball version of Herman ever. I'll be 205. I'll be dunking it, like no joke.
YouTube, Herman dunks over Gabi.
Yeah.
2,000 fucking. Yeah.
Let me tell you something. I don't want to be that black guy that's on YouTube losing to Chris Gabi.
Oh, yeah, fuck. Yeah.
Then there would be more questions about, did you lie about your ethnicity, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. There's so many reasons why losing is not an option. Yeah. I'd probably even get on steroids. I won't get on steroids for Zloty. I'll get on steroids for a basketball game with Gabi.
All right, you got a list. We should pick away at that list.
Yeah. Grunting and training videos. What do you guys think?
Man, I do it in the gym, but I don't change it up for the video. It's either it happens or it doesn't happen, and it's organic. Maybe it's a bad habit, but I think you can tell if it's put on.
Yeah, I used to have this philosophy where no matter what I did in a daily gym or what I did, I'd have to scream 10 times. And that sounds silly, but when I mean scream, I mean genuine all-out exertion where you have no choice but to let out a burst. And so if it's genuine, I think it's fucking cool because it means that someone's exerting a lot of effort. But 9 times out of 10, these things are mocked, and it just looks foolish.
Yeah. So one angle I have is probably if you're grunting in a training video on the arm wrestling training page or training group, it's probably like bullshit anyway.
For sure it is.
Okay. Another angle, if you're really grunting and it's serious, I'd argue that you might be pushing it too hard.
Yeah,
right. And that depends on your training program. If you have to max out and do like 110% max out, and yeah, maybe. But I know if I'm grunting, then I'm probably not following my own training protocols. And then kind of like Gabi mentioned, I remember there was one guy on YouTube. All this dude did was like max effort screaming and max effort reps. But the dude was like 210 pounds, deadlifting 800 pounds.
Yeah.
And so his thing was like he has to scream to get that like top level strength that everyone's leaving on the table. So I've thought about doing that, but I don't know. I might get some calls from the neighbors or something.
Well, I used to own a gym, and I would turn around if guys were screaming, if they were grunting, and I turn around and they're deadlifting 500 pounds, I look the other way. If I turn around and they're deadlifting 200 pounds and they're screaming, they're going to get talking to.
Yeah.
And in some cases, I actually confronted a guy. I told him to shut up. He was swearing and yelling at me. I turned around, he's deadlifting like 300 pounds. I'm like, man, add 100 pounds to that before you start doing that kind of stuff. It ended up getting into a confrontation that almost got physical, and he was removed from the gym.
Yeah, there was one guy in the arm wrestling training group, or a couple people. They don't grunt or scream. They sensually moan. I really don't understand.
That's worse.
I really don't understand. Hey, you know what? If you're deadlifting 700 pounds, I'll let
Do
you
what
get
you want.
Sensual moaning. I'll go along with it.
Yeah. Speaking of that, apparently there was a video about I think it's Ivan Matyushenko boasts he thinks you should be able to bench 1.5 to 2 times your body weight. I don't know where that comes from, that theory. I don't think it's...
First of all, there's no way an elite super heavyweight can do that. The majority can't. The majority can't. I mean, Ryan, 550 pounds.
My best is over 600 pounds.
Yeah, well, maybe. I mean, I'm a big advocate of having chest and front delt strength, whether it comes from bench press, military press. I prefer military press or dumbbell presses, but less risk of injury. But I'm a big advocate to having a strong chest and front delt. And I think Matyushenko is the best puller in the history of our sport in setting a hook, better than John. So I tend to listen to what he has to say, but I more or less agree with that.
And I think 1.5 to 2, the range is key.
Body weight.
That 1.5, come on,
Yeah.
I think I was approaching 2 at some point in my life. I think if I would have taken like a week off, I would have hit a double body weight easy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say 1.5 to 2 is reasonable. I mean, a 200-pound guy, should he be able to bench 300 pounds? Easy.
Yeah, but I mean, look at John Brzezinski and Devin. Both of them at one point held the title of best arm wrestler on the planet for multiple years, and I would argue that neither one could bench press, maybe even 1.5. Both Devin's notoriously a poor bencher, and John I don't think ever benched.
So John, let's say if John right now can't bench 300 pounds, it's simply coordination.
Yeah.
In 2 weeks, John can bench 300 pounds. Now, what I was told back in the day was that John went to the gym for 3 weeks, did some bench press, and was benching 380.
It makes sense because of his...
He's just so strong.
Yeah. Well, and there's so much carryover to arm wrestling and building a front delt. I mean, you can't be an elite arm wrestler and not have above average pec and delt strength. It wouldn't work. So It makes sense. Devin has such long arms. I can understand how he struggles with it. But then again,
he becomes such an outlier that's a little bit different. But even then, Devin had not this bloated, corn-eating Devin, but the 240-pound Devin should be able to do 360.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? Yeah, 360.
Yeah, it makes sense. And if he can't, give him 3 weeks, right? Just like John,
exactly.
Give him 3 weeks, and it'll come. But yeah, that's a fair statement. Yeah, I'll agree with that. Yeah.
All right. Next on the list.
What tips do we have for overcoming plateaus?
Changing it up, man. You either change your intensity, your weight, or your rep ranges. All three of those things will break a plateau. You've just adapted to your training, that's all.
Yeah. Most people, when they hit a plateau, usually in my experience, what they're doing is they're doing heavier type weights with longer rest periods. Whenever I've hit a plateau, going back before arm wrestling, what I would do is I would no matter what I was doing, no matter what weight I was doing, is I would keep my rest between sets at maximum 30 seconds. And you're thinking, well, that's not that dramatic. Well, try doing 20 sets of squats at 70% of your max or 60% of your max with only 30-second break and intermittent breaks. The second thing is the biggest mistake everyone makes, I think everyone fucking makes on earth that's ever worked out, is you should never, ever, ever, ever work out at a range between 8 and 12 reps. You should always be between 4 and 5 for 6, 8 weeks. And then when you plateau, you go to 11, 12, 13. Because when you're fucking around in the 7, 8, 9, 10 range, you give your body there's no gap for shock. Your body's pretty much can adapt to anything between anything from 5 to 12. And so where do you go? Where do you go if your body's used to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 reps? You almost have to go to a variety of different training methods, which can adapt the plateau, but it won't break the plateau. So I've never, no matter what I do, and then this includes arm wrestling grip stuff, I'm either at a high range or low range, or light and heavy as I call it. Light is 12 to 15, 12 to 13, 12 to 14, absolutely nothing under 12. And my heavy is absolutely nothing above 5. And that way I never, ever, 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 I do 6 weeks of one, and then I do the extreme opposite, which shocks everything, and which sucks because I hate working out light, but it allows to break the plateau. And when I go back to heavy, my numbers surge.
Yeah, I'd agree with all of the above. There's like thousands of ways to get strong. I mean, so if you're plateaued because you're only doing singles, okay, go to triples, right? Go to fives. If you typically ramp to one set of a single, try to do 10 singles with 90% in 10 minutes. There's like so many ways to skin the cat.
Yeah.
Another one is back off. Minimize your program, streamline, focus on one thing. That'll get you to a program. You could just be doing too much. Yeah, or just take time off. You might have some injuries or something. Just do something different.
The bottom line is everything works until it doesn't.
Correct.
And if you hang out in that range where the program you're doing stops working, that's just foolish. You need to change everything up and find ways to adapt and work around. I don't think I've ever gotten to a plateau in the last 5 years because I'm constantly reevaluating and changing things up.
Yeah. I remember when I was in my early 20s, and I'd go, I do one twice a week in the gym. One was pull, one was push. I simplified everything, and on my pull day, I'd go in and I'd do a slight warm up, and I'd start with five sets of cheat curls, 2 warm ups, and 3 working sets of cheat curls. And the cheat curl would range between 230 and 270 pounds, and a full cheat curl. And at first, my numbers went up, my bicep size went up, and it continued that way for about maybe just over a month and a half, and then I plateaued. But I had so much pride and connection with that exercise, and I had so much success that I just kept doing it, did it for a year. And the point where not only did I plateau, I started getting weaker. And then I decided, you know what, some advice from a bodybuilder in the gym. He says, just do a couple weeks of Arnold's 21s. And I said, man, that's not going to get me any growth. He says, no, but. And the first time I did Arnold 21, you're used to doing a 3 rep max of heavy cheat curls, and you go to an Arnold's 21. The pump I got was so fucking intense, and I did that for I think I did it for maybe 3 weeks, twice a week for 3 weeks or 4 weeks. I went back to my cheat curls. I was slightly weaker, but then I jumped and my numbers went up about 20, 25 pounds progressively for about 3 weeks. It's not fun, but sometimes you got to do the light shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Joint supplements, any tips for arthritis?
Not really, man. CBD.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't know anything about weed, right? So, yeah, I would just say all you can do is eat better. I mean,
yeah, it's the amount of money that's wasted on joint supplements and health supplements is unfucking. It's in the trillions worldwide. The best thing you can do for your joints is not eat any processed fucking foods. Minimize dairy. Minimize red meat. It's amazing. People don't have the commitment to try this, but if you would just cut out all the shit and do research on food that's non-acidic to acidic or alkaline forming, and you can still get your macros and your protein in easily. If you would do that for a month, the change you would feel in your joints would be crazy. Just most people can't commit or won't commit to it, but it's diet. It's all diet related. When it comes to joints, it's fucking diet related.
Yeah, and then recently, I mean, I've stripped down my diet. Even getting rid of certain whole foods that I think may be causing me some issues.
Yeah.
And I mean, I dropped 10 pounds like it was nothing.
Yeah, I mean, if your whole
I'm not doing a whole lot.
I mean, if your whole foods are gluten based or have gluten in them, I mean, it's not helping your joints. So,
yeah, and there's other things like apparently like some certain people have issues with nightshades, like tomatoes and potatoes and peppers and stuff.
Yeah.
I had suspicions for like years, but I kept drinking hot sauce, because I like it. But I've just kind of gotten rid of a lot of that stuff. Like I said, 10 pounds came off easy with less work than I did to, So I guess before Zloty, I was walking an extra hour and a half a day and, counting carbs and calories and struggling. I got down to 222 for my cut. I'm 217 now, and I haven't done anything other than just remove some, bad shit out of my diet,
Yeah.
We had a question, and this is a big question. If you were to go back and start all over, what would you do differently?
Who asked that question?
Abby Chahoud.
Oh, okay. Someone asked me that question the other day. And I think my answer to that question was I might back out of powerlifting sooner. I might switch to cable training as opposed to bands sooner. And I would go more intensely on those cables sooner. I would decrease the intensity I put on the table sooner. And I probably would have upped my table frequency sooner.
I have an hour-long answer to this question, but a few easy ones would be ignoring some of the other things that I was trying to do at the same time as my arm wrestling career. So powerlifting, strongman, mixed martial arts, and at one point, distance running, if you can believe that. And I probably would have incorporated my chiropractor 1 year before I actually did, when I was dealing with a wrist injury that conventional medicine could not solve.
Yep.
What about you?
I would have been less stubborn and probably try to build more back pressure from my wrist, not my riser, and not back pressure to top roll, but back pressure to minimize how much I'm conceding north-south territory to my opponent. So I would probably focus more on that. I was just too stubborn. But I mean, other than that, I mean, it's kind of a dumb question because life does not work in retrospect like that. What would you do different?
Yeah, and also, like, even some of the advice that I gave, I don't know if you can just dump that list of recommendations on a table to a new guy either, and he turns out better, right? So I guess to follow that up, I'd say go get a coach, right? And someone local. I mean, I don't know if paying Giannis Amelins or Krasimir when you're like a 1 year guy, I don't even think you can benefit from it or you really utilize that. But I would go find like a legit coach, not necessarily the best arm wrestler with the most exposure. I'd go find a really good coach, and I would leave the country and go to WAF Worlds or Zloty as soon as possible, even if you have no shot whatsoever. But go see what the top really looks like, and then come back and decide if this is what you want to do, or figure out what you need to do to get there. Chasing the PAF title or this local state championships stuff, it just kind of wastes your time. And I think I progressed pretty quickly for someone who's probably not, I'm not Rob Vigent or John Brezink from just a general talent standpoint.
Yeah, but you're also not a chicken shit. A lot of these people that chase regional titles are not because they don't have the physical potential, because they're chicken shit. They know that if they go to Zloty, if they go to Worlds, if they go to a high-end tournament, and they're going to get slapped, they're not geared to deal with it psychologically. They just stay away from it. Their ego can't handle it. So although you haven't had the best, maybe you don't have the best physical potential or genetics. The ability to push yourself past the point of comfort or to challenge yourself, despite being disappointed, is a strong trait.
Yeah, that's fair. And so had I gone, earlier, I think I would have progressed a little bit sooner, Let's see here.
Yeah.
So here's a question. Is it better for arm wrestlers to spend more time on exercises like bent rows to develop real back pressure?
No.
Yeah, I think that's fair. What do you think, Ryan?
It's, I mean, I do bent rows, but I never considered it a staple of my arm wrestling training.
Correct.
And to prioritize that would never be something that would have crossed my mind at all.
And I don't know. I'm probably the wrong person to ask questions because I analyzed the question itself. But what is back pressure? What's real back pressure? I mean, some people say this is back pressure. Some people say this is back pressure. But whatever. Here's my advice on that question: is I think it's worth spending time becoming generally strong, regardless of what that exercise is. But at some point, it becomes useless, right? I mean, I don't know if Ryan, if you'd be much better if you went from a 600 to 700 pound bench press, or if you added another 100 pounds to your squat or another 100 pounds to your deadlift. But having what you do have probably helps you at some point on the table. But any more might be diminishing returns. That's probably how I look at it.
Well, in fact, I've backed off of some of those things because you only have so much recovery ability, so much you can prioritize. So when I focused specifically on a strength movement like bench press or deadlift, it either made my arm wrestling stuff stand still or even took away from it slightly. Either one of those movements you described, where it's back pressure rising or back pressure this way, it's a huge compound movement. But if you do your standard bent over row, you're missing pieces of it.
Yeah. Years ago, I was training with a guy, and he says he was always in the strap, and he was a lat. He did a lot of lat pulling in the strap to get his side of the table won. And he said he started to lose matches versus better arm wrestlers that way. He wanted to get stronger. So he started doing Chris Chandler type chained dumbbell heavy ass rows in the gym. And he showed me a video of it where the resistance is at its most when you're kind of like not in an ideal arm wrestling position. And I said, if your goal is to develop a stronger back, that's fucking awesome generally. But if you actually want to develop more specific back pressure on the table in this position, and what we did is he would get his elbow on the arm wrestling table at practice, and I would put a strap around his wrist because that's where he was generating. He wasn't rising in the strap; he was pulling out from the base of his wrist. And I would have him come tight to his chest, and then I would pull back as much as I can into like a negative contraction and do like a 10-second static. And we do it over and over, left and right, for about 10 minutes. And that transitioned much better to him becoming a better arm wrestler in that position than doing heavy back rows. So you have to be able to do I need to get stronger as a man in these certain muscle groups, or do I need to become more specifically stronger in these on the table in these positions? Now, if you can find out what the difference is, you're in good shape.
Yeah, and I mean, and if you're a grown man, and let's say you only bench 180 and you deadlift 270 pounds or whatever, yeah, I would say definitely invest some time in becoming a stronger person. I don't see how that hurts you at all.
Yeah. Man, I think the best fucking skill you can develop, if you can develop it, or if it's maybe just not innate, is the ability to analyze exactly why you lost and where your weak links are. And I mean specifically, not mythologically, but actually know where the fuck you're weak and why you lost. That's huge. And I see so many fucking training videos of people doing, well, I'm trying to get stronger here doing this, and I just put junk. You don't know what you're talking about, junk.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of comments in here. One guy says, Jordan Peterson says, a carnivore diet cures arthritis. He says that. Jordan Peterson's a psychologist. So
he's wrong. Because what happens is he's right and he's wrong. Short term, absolutely, because if your diet is full of refined sugar, caffeine, and gluten and junk, and you said, you know what, I'm just going to go to organic chicken and organic red meat and nitrate free, whatever, you will become less inflamed because your body will stop pulling calcium and phosphorus from the bone. So you will see a period of, oh my God, I feel great. My arthritis is getting better because your diet was so terrible. But will that last for into your 60s and 70s over a period of decades? Absolutely not, because meat is acidic forming. So you can feel great and your arthritis can diminish, but that's because it's adapting to it's adapting from your shittier diet. But he's right and he's wrong, but it's not a long-term solution.
And the guy that asked the arthritis question, I think his name is Todd McClure, and I didn't even get to meet or shake the guy's hand, but he was in Reno, and this guy's built like Richard Lufke's. So I just think when you're that big and you move that kind of weight to get that big, you're probably just going to have arthritis.
You're going to hurt a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
Pain is a part of life. Embrace it.
That dude was kind of a beast.
On that subject, there's two questions that are similar. That's talking about consistent cracking in the elbow joint and any tips other than just resting it. I can tell you that my left elbow cracks all the time when I'm doing things that are not a bench press where it's compressed, but like a tricep press down. It cracks every single repetition. And you got
right now.
You got it too. Yeah. As long as it doesn't cause you sharp pain, I would say you just got to work through it.
Yeah. I don't think that can be fixed. I mean,
no.
Eventually you're going to wear out all that material and maybe you have to get surgery or some pads or something installed or whatever the hell they do, or you just deal with it. I mean, I'd avoid surgery at all costs probably.
If you have lots and lots of money, you can go get the stem cell treatments.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There you go.
But that's, I think, the only thing that would work.
Yeah.
If it's that big of a deal to you, I've kind of embraced it. My massage therapist says it's not normal. My chiropractor tries to work on it with some limited degree of success. It maybe works for a day. But
yeah. But hey, who wants to be normal?
Well, that'd be the worst thing ever.
Yeah. It's like, okay, yeah, my elbow might not creak, but I could be like just some weak guy who sits at a desk all day.
Yeah.
I'd rather just be a strong guy that sits at a desk all day.
Yeah.
Most bang for the buck exercise.
I don't like that question.
Oh, I fucking love that question.
For the reason that I think that people are looking for the laziest possible approach to success.
Oh.
Well, you're talking to one of the laziest people over the last 5 years. So I can answer that question.
I fucking love that.
And you should lead it off.
Internal rotation, a la Zolowev. He does it in every training video you ever see him doing. He's always internal rotation, just like that. I probably won a few tournaments just doing that one exercise because I was too lazy to do the other exercises. and the truth is, if you do that with a couple 100 pounds, you'll probably beat me too. So regardless of any of your other strengths. I'm not saying that you should build a program off and only do one exercise. But man, I think that exercise is pretty awesome.
Why I love that question is because you can look at it as, well, I'm lazy, I just want to do one thing potentially. But the way I look at it is if you can formulate what exercise would be the most ideal if you can only do one, and you come up with an answer, you can first of all analyze why that is the reason, and second of all, you can build a training program that pushes outwards from it. So it gives you an idea of where to start and why is it in fact the number one exercise potentially for you. Because it's not just, well, I enjoy doing it. There's probably a reason behind it. And if you've had gains from it, then why have you had gains from it? And I assume the question is arm wrestling specific, right? It's an arm wrestling?
Yeah.
The answer to me would be, I grab maybe 105, 110, depending where I am in my progression. And I just place it on a preacher bench and I come over it with my chest engaged, with my front delt engaged, bicep, of course, engaged, a little bit of flexion in my wrist, no fat grip on it. And I keep it close to my chin and I slowly let it, it's about a 6, 7, 8 second negative static type deal. And everything gets engaged, everything. And it simulates the way I pull on the table. And then I would go to left, right, to left, right. But if I can only pick one, that's probably it. And the reason is because number one, it's completely compound. Number two, arm wrestling is built in the negative range, so there's that, and the level of exertion it takes, and the amount of arm wrestling muscle, the groups that have to work in cohesion to hold the weight is directly a correlation to what we do on the arm wrestling table when we compete. So for me, it would be that.
So elements of internal rotation, even in your
He's
answer.
well, of course. I just prefer that because that brings in.
It's a style
It's
thing that fits your style. That fits
Yeah,
your style
exactly.
more, and the exercise that I chose fits my style more. Even though they kind of hit a lot of different things,
Yeah.
a lot of the same stuff.
Here's the ironic thing for me. If I had to pick one exercise to do over all others, it would probably be something that is not currently part of my routine.
Okay.
Because if I had to try to come up with an exercise that hit every element that I train, it would be something completely different that isn't part of it, because I'm hitting that in smaller vectors, if you will, throughout the whole week of training.
Okay. I guess I got some questions from Tom Nelson.
Badminton.
He asked if I was good at badminton, and that's a no. Is arm wrestling hard without KFC? And I'm going to say no because I have Popeyes. Let's do it this way. Does Gabi know that even though he sits close to the camera, people still know he's 5'3"?
Yeah, he mentioned my name in there. Like he's trying to. What was the whole? I have it here. Does Gabi know that even if he sits closer to the camera, making him look bigger than SB on Crossfire, we still know he's 5'3"?
The answer to that is yes.
Why am I guess not in the running for best porn mustache? I guess probably because my homemade tapes haven't been released. Let's blow through some of these. CJ Twine wants to know why I want him to move to Louisiana, and that's so he can actually get some good coaching. This guy asked for your 5 favorite exercises. That seems a little greedy.
That's a lot.
I'll give you 1: internal rotation. We just covered it. What's your favorite exercise, SB?
Oh, that's a tough one, man, because I look forward, the stuff I'm doing now, I look forward to every day, but I still enjoy my side pressure days. But I feel like sometimes I creep towards breaking my own arm, and it scares me a little bit. But I like
what is
the
side pressure exercise?
There's 2. There's from resistance directly in front of me.
Okay.
Hold, pin. And there's one from directly at the side, which is the one that scares me the most.
Okay.
And I hate it and I love it all at the same time.
What are you doing on the one where you go directly from the side? Like, what is the movement, or what are you doing?
I'm using a rotating handle, fully wrapped, so it doesn't, because otherwise it'll slip out and hurt me, slide out to my elbow. And I'm just getting it in position and then pinning it. It's almost a max effort movement.
Okay.
It's a single rep.
And I mean, your body's dynamic, but your arm and your angle is static.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay. What are your numbers on those lifts?
True weight, I mean, we're talking 150.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess most of my favorite side pressure exercises and internal rotation, I think this is fairly similar. They're almost all dynamic. Like I don't do very many where actually I just hold and then go. And then I also, I don't think I do many pinning exercises, but I thought that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I try to have the weight and either bring it in here or bring it in here dynamically.
I do that as well, but I do that on a different, the one where the weight's in front of me, I'm doing higher reps and it is a dynamic movement.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I still can't get over the balls to ask a question. What's your top 5? It's like me and Herman are pretty good friends, and it's like me asking Herman, give me your top 75 best real estate pieces of advice. It's like, how dare you, motherfucker? Do you think I have 4 hours to create a list? Like, damn, the balls on that guy to ask that question.
Well,
good for him.
Well, we throw it out there, say ask us questions. So, man, that whoever asked that.
Look, I mean, and look. Okay, I'm not gonna crucify the guy or anything. I just don't know if it's a good question. I mean, there's just hundreds of exercises out there, pick something that kind of makes sense, I don't know. Do we have?
I
Any,
like it.
Do you have any supplement recommendations?
Yeah, always stay on protein. That's it.
Okay. What about
God,
you?
disagree with me.
I'm a big believer in always taking at least half the year taking 5 grams of creatine. I'm big on creatine, especially for me because I don't eat meat. So when I'm on creatine, it's a great substitute. Other than that, man, I've always said it in the past. I'm a huge advocate of any man over 35, 37 going on small to moderate levels of test, synthetic test. That's the best goddamn supplement on the planet, and it's really inexpensive. And it's not dangerous. It's not toxic. It's toxic at 30, at 25 in high amounts. Small, moderate amounts over 40, your body will thank you.
Let me ask you this: do you supplement with protein, Gabi? I mean, or do you struggle getting protein in if you're not eating a
Now,
lot of meat and stuff?
if I'm training, like I have two diets. It's diet to be as strong as I can, preparing for tournaments, which is maybe 8 months of the year, and then a diet just to not too, just looking to maintain muscle mass, do more conditioning, so maybe higher in carbs, lower in protein, and trying to more of a detox element to my diet. But when I'm building, I'm getting 140, 150 grams of protein. Easily get it. Now, of course, for me to up my protein, I almost have to up my macros, my carbs too. So it's a big diet. It's a hearty diet because I'm not sitting there with fucking chicken and so I have to. Most of my protein sources come with
Carbs.
carb sources, with the exception of my shelled hemp protein, nuts and seeds, and of course, which are high in fat, and oat milk, oat milk, almond milk is fairly high in protein with no carbs. But yeah, so yeah, it's not hard, but you have to know your shit. You have to know your sources. You have to know what to eat.
Yeah. Personally, I mean, I would focus on your zincs and magnesiums and vitamin D's and all that stuff like that. And I'm sure someone will tell me that studies say they don't work or something, and I probably can't even argue with that person. But if I'm taking a supplement, that's what I try to get in because I know I'm probably deficient. Actually, most people are deficient in zinc, magnesium, and vitamin D anyway.
Yeah.
So I'd say get those in, and you'll probably sleep better and recover better, just because you're getting some fundamental things in your system.
Yeah, actually, years ago when I was getting along with Joe Drellick, he contacted me and he said his doctor said his iron levels were low, and they couldn't find out why. And we talked about it for a while, and we realized it had to do with his menstrual cycle. So, you know.
Should have known that something like that was coming.
Another question: what is your max on every lift?
What?
Okay, so we're gonna skip that. So I'll kind of answer. I'll give you a target, right?
Oh, I see what it is. Max on every pronation lift. Like, okay, yeah, every lift.
Like, dude, 100 pounds. You can lift 100 pounds on something, and I mean lift it, not a static hold, not a two-hand bring it up and hold it. I mean lift 100 pounds. You're getting there. You know, you're getting some decent level of strength, and then if you can get this 100 pounds of partial dynamic strength, I'm not talking about full 100-pound curls with one arm like Rob Vigent. You'll never do it. That's a special dude. But if you're dynamically moving 100 pounds in these single arm, weird arm wrestling exercises, at that point you would have had enough strength and you're capable of pulling certain types of people that you can probably figure out the next step. Right? So if you can do the work to get to 100 pounds, you're probably set to figure out how much more you need, whether it's 125 or 150 on dynamic lifts or over 200 pounds on certain static exercises. You know.
Yeah. There was a question that was following up just to the last topic we were on about side pressure a little bit. And he said, how frequently do you guys train side pressure slash internal rotation? And my training cycle lasts 1 week. Everything is done once a week.
You do everything once a week?
Once a week, yeah.
Too often.
One side pressure day.
One side pressure day, but Gabi, here's the twist. If I feel like my side pressure day has come up and I'm not fully recovered, it will be altered dramatically to be super lightweight, high reps kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
The question was specifically for side pressure.
It was specifically side pressure and or internal rotation.
Yeah, I would say. I've done up to 3 times a day, 7 days a week for weeks on end. That doesn't mean I'm doing 100% at every workout, and I have to adjust as time goes on because you get beat up. And when I was doing this stuff, I was still arm wrestling, and probably arm wrestling multiple times per week. So there's a lot of ways to skin the cat. If you like to do 130% effort workouts, you're probably only going to be able to do your side pressure once every few weeks.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
If you and even then, I probably push the limits of what 3 times a day is supposed to be. But if you have a reasonable program with some logic behind it that's supposed to protect you while getting you stronger, I don't see why you can't go really high frequency.
Yeah.
Right. And again, I'm not talking about 3 2-hour workouts. Right. Although if you told me that I had to train 3 times a day, 2 hours at each workout, I could still do that high frequency because I'd make the adjustments on volume, on intensity, etc. So again, I like really high frequency. I like short workouts. Opposite, there are people that only train, like Rustam, I think at one point was training 2 days a week and was kicking everyone's ass.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Yeah. All right. What else you got there, Herman?
What is arm wrestling?
Next.
I would say arm wrestling is a sport done on and above a table. Leave it at that.
Very passive aggressive of you.
How about this? The King's move sucks. Why is Ryan Timms so weak?
Oh.
His mind is weak. Weak minds make for weak bodies.
I would say it's also because he's a promoter. That's part of it.
Well, he's got a soft personality. Like, he's a soft dude. I don't mind Ryan. Back in the day, he was one of the better trolls on the Northeast board, but I just find he's fucking soft.
It's all the time in working in the plants, Gabi.
Maybe.
So you're at the beginning of that. So we'll see what happens to you over the next 10 years.
Yeah, maybe.
How important are PEDs in the sport of arm wrestling, and what percentage of the elites are on PEDs? Now, Gabi, before we answer, how are we going to define elite for this discussion?
It'll have to be 4 and up.
Say that again?
Tier 4 and up.
Tier 4 and up. Okay.
Would you consider, Gabi, so based on that, there's a lot of guys that are pulling in the World Arm Wrestling League that would not be considered elite.
Well, they're not elite. Okay. 80% of the people. Well, it's fuck. What do you want? They're 3s. Well, that's not true. I mean, Adam Wilmot's a legit 3, but I mean, no, that's not fair. Half the roster is maybe 4s. Half the roster might be 4s. 10% of the roster might be 5s. Yeah, it's no. They have their share of elites. I mean, most of their super matches in their cards are tier 4s. Anyway, so it's a decent question. It's speculative, but it's age dependent, man. As much as I want to take now, I can never become as strong as I was naturally at 23, 24, 25.
I don't believe it.
It's a fact. What I was able to do in my early 20s with a shitty diet trumps anything I can do since 37, 38 on anything. Not that I've been on anything, but...
Let me throw something at you. Tim Bresnan never even got strong until he was in his mid-40s.
Tim Bresnan wasn't an athlete. He'll say he was never as strong as he was in his 40s. Was Tim Bresnan in the gym at 19 to 25? No. He was just a regular Joe farming or whatever the fuck, riding bikes, and I don't know, whatever he was doing. But it's easy to say that. Like, if a guy never does anything, he works in an office his whole life, and at 50 he lifts a dumbbell. He says, "I've never been stronger in my life." Yeah, but you also have no comparison, and you've also never focused on being strong. Like a guy never gets laid, and at fucking 49 he fucking bangs a hot girl, and he says, "Man, that was the best piece of ass I got at the age of 49." Well, it's the only piece of ass you got. So everything's fucking relative. But I don't believe that. I mean, scientifically, it's incorrect. On a personal bit, someone can claim that, but there's a reason why you're claiming it.
We lost Herman, man. So it's me and you until he returns. Oh, he's back.
Yeah.
Herman,
Sorry about that.
take it
Sorry
away.
about that. Yeah. I don't know, man. PEDs seem pretty important. At some point, let's take a step back. So I remember when I started, I said, in Louisiana, I said, man, these guys are strong. I'll never beat this guy. And I pull this other guy who's even stronger, and it's like, well, I'll never beat this guy. And you look at the top 10 in the United States, and you go, well, I'll never be on that top 10 list without steroids, right? That's what I told myself. This is 2010. And I said, well, I just like the sport. I'm going to work hard. So I work hard. And, of course, I've beaten all those guys, been as high as number 2 or 3 in North America. I guess I'm number 1 right now in North America at 220. I play Lottie and all that stuff. So I guess certain people don't need it to do certain things that are probably worthy of recognition.
Mm-hmm.
You guys still there?
Still here. Go ahead.
But man, I mean, I think if you want to be like that number 1 guy in Zloty, outside of some like lucky draw or something, man, you probably have to be on steroids. Well, unless you're Rob Vidgen, right?
If you want to be the best in a weight class,
I can't hear Gobby.
Oh, that's not good.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, can you guys still hear Gobby?
I can hear Gobby. I can hear her.
Hey, this is definitely the app, man.
Try that.
Any better now? No? Let me go out and come back in, Ryan. Can you hear me now? Herman, no, nothing?
I can't hear Chris.
I'll go out
Chris
and come
talking?
back in. Yeah, hold on.
Yeah, Chris is still talking.
Jeez.
How much content you got left there, Herman?
The steroid question is the last one.
Okay, well, let's
and it's not like I can't come back on at some point in the future anyway.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I guess steroids. I mean, it seems like that's the thing, man. Like, damn near everyone does it. 99% of the people I compete against, or 90%, 99% are probably on it. Does that mean everyone has to do it? No. There are people like Rob Vidgen that probably never have to do it and can be the best in the world. But most of us, yeah, we'll never be on that level. I think unless we do it. And I think the odds of us being that successful, or someone like me being number 1 in the world without drugs, goes down every single year.
Yeah, it's a country thing too, right? Like, United States, performance enhancement is highly illegal. In Canada, not so much. You would go back 20 years when they were putting out supplements that were more potent than the stuff you bought on the black market. And the availability and coaching, and there's all kinds of things that, I think I was listening to a podcast not long ago where they're talking about performance enhancement. And one of the hosts made the comment that everything he puts in his mouth enhances his performance. So how do you judge what is and what is not performance enhancing?
Correct.
Yeah. Is it necessary? No, absolutely not. But I mean, there's a certain percentage of people that they want their name next to that number 1. And if that's the case, then they might have to do a little something extra. And that's just how it is.
Yeah, if you want to be number 1, I think you got to get on the drugs. And I'm not making like some, high ground moral stance that steroid users are bad or any of this other stuff.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Am I in?
Yep. It's just I think it's really serious.
I can't hear you.
You can't?
Wow, what a fucking app.
Oh my God.
Hey, Gabi, I think we're going to wrap it up
Now
anyway.
I can hear you. Did we lose everything?
We can hear. I can hear everybody.
I can hear Gabi.
Okay. I can hear you. I can't hear Herman. I can't even see Herman now.
Okay, well, let's let Herman finish what he's saying, and I'll tell you when he's done, and then maybe we'll wrap.
Yeah. I just think it's really complicated. Steroids aren't the devil. I don't think they won't kill someone. Someone overdoing steroids might harm them, but it's just complicated. Personally, my question is, okay, do I want to do steroids for the rest of my life? I think that's the question you have to ask yourself. Because once you get on it, and let's say if you were already good, you get on steroids, then you feel like some kind of god. If you have to cycle off or get off, you're going to feel like a piece of shit. You're not going to be able to compete again without them. It's a different ballgame.
Yeah, there's so many different nuances to doing that kind of stuff that, just educate yourself before you try anything.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. Are we ready to call it a show?
Yeah. These technical
Sounds
difficulties are just fatiguing me.
In the past week, the Be Live app has actually been redoing a whole bunch of different things, and we've had some big problems, but we got through it for the most part. And man, we'll do it again. Herman, we appreciate you coming on the show again.
Yeah, no problem.
Tell Herman it sucked that we couldn't even touch the Adam Wilmot stuff, but next time.
Wow. Yeah.
Did you hear him?
No, I
No, I
can't
can
hear
hear
him. I don't
Gabi.
think he can hear me.
Yeah, Herman can hear you. You just
I
can't
can hear
hear him.
Okay.
And yeah, we need to unpack that, but maybe it's for another day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no worries.
All right. Later, guys. Thanks.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you soon.
Take
Bye.
care, guys.